YouTube has the ability to turn people into celebrities, with the capability to create and upload our own content and broadcast ourselves like never before, cultivating a following while we do so. Due to this, the best and worst parts of YouTube are on display for anyone to see at any time. This phenomenon has given power to some of the darkest and most perverted monsters imaginable. You might hear the name Gregory James Daniel and think it sounds ordinary, but on January 29, 2006, when he created his first YouTube channel, Onision, he would go on to become one of the most infamous YouTubers to ever hit the internet. And now, he's back. Gregory James Daniel, better known online as Onision, was born on November 11, 1985, to parents Tammy and Randy. While there has been speculation about his upbringing, it is commonly suspected that his hometown is Auburn, Washington, which was identified through older videos hosted on his now-archived YouTube channel. At the age of 2, in 1988, Greg's parents divorced. His father, Randy, faced allegations of adultery. After the divorce, Greg was raised by his mother, Tammy, in a lower-class household, allegedly due to his father being inconsistent with child support. His mother had to work whatever job she could to pay the bills, many of which required hard labor. At an early age, Greg would show an obsession with his relationships with women and always had a tendency towards violent behavior. An example of this behavior can be seen in Greg's documented first fight, which took place around 2nd grade. Greg had fallen in love with a girl and spent time with her every day. One day, a boy told him that she was actually his girlfriend and said some nasty things. Greg then asked the girl if she minded watching him beat the boy up. She said she didn't. So, Greg turned around and started swinging as hard and fast as he could. The recess coach saw them and began screaming for him to stop. When it was over, the boy was crying, and Greg was smiling. Another example of Greg's troubling behavior towards women, which shaped his early childhood, can be seen in his experience with his first kiss. When he was 11 years old, he shared his first kiss with a 15-year-old girl named Julia, whom he had met at his father's church. Greg vividly recalled her telling him, "You have the heart of a 15-year-old. The following year, when they returned to where they had kissed, Greg learned that Julia had fallen in love with someone else, a boy named Michael. By that time, Greg and Julia had lost touch. It hit him years later, only after reflecting on the experience. Greg was likely being groomed by someone older and more experienced. Given the maturity difference between them, this experience early on in his childhood probably shaped his views on women growing up. Greg's teenage years were marked by his growing interest in web design, music, and creative expression. Initially living with his mother in Washington, he spent much of his time building websites and experimenting with online projects. In 2001, he created The Cries of the Crypt, a site where he shared his music, pictures, and other media under the alias Otacon, a combination of Odd and Otacon, a character from the video game series Metal Gear Solid. Due to The Cries of the Crypt having an advice section, users could scroll through a predetermined list of issues they were facing, click on one, and a pop-up would display Greg's advice on the matter. The topics ranged from suicidal thoughts to parents going through a divorce. Because of this, Greg presented himself as an online therapist, offering general advice to random forum users. At just 15 years old, shortly after, his mother sent him to live with his father, Randy, and stepmother, Deborah, in Ohio, where he continued to develop his websites and other interests. However, Greg's relationship with his father and stepmother quickly deteriorated due to his defiance and outbursts. According to Deborah, Greg was so toxic that she warned their neighbors to call the police if anything seemed wrong. Randy mentioned that Greg often threatened to burn down the house during his fits of rage, yelling and cursing, leading to several confrontations where the police had to be called. During a family road trip to Nashville, Greg refused to turn down his music, prompting a physical altercation between him and Randy. Greg broke Randy's glasses and bloodied his nose, leading to bystanders calling the police. As a result, Greg was placed in juvenile detention. Deborah and Randy noted that Greg only showed responsibility while he was behind bars. While living in Ohio, Greg met a girl named Christina whose laughter and attention drew him in. However, when she ignored him during lunch one day, Greg reacted by flipping her off. Christina later confronted him, and Greg, enraged by what he perceived as disrespect, told her to come to school dressed as gothic as possible the next day, which she did. Their relationship caused further conflict with his father, Randy. Greg's insistence on seeing Christina one day led to a heated argument, during which Greg called his stepmother an effing bee. Randy reportedly responded by strangling Greg, who retaliated by kicking his father in the chest. Randy called the police, and Greg was sent to juvenile detention for the damage caused during the altercation. Greg insists that he acted in self-defense. After his release, Greg returned to Washington, where he resumed his online projects, creating websites like hybrid-ey.com in 2002 to share his literature and music and promote his web design company, Sin Within Incorporated, which also developed a site dedicated to speculation about Metal Gear Solid 2, Substance. Unlike his ego-driven behavior when running the Cries of the Crypt in every subsequent website Onision made, his online behavior would become more domineering, with forum members describing him as a tyrannical administrator who lashed out at criticism. Around this time, Greg also developed his own religion, Seska, which revolved around humanity's connection to the earth and supernatural beliefs, further reinforcing his need for control over others. Despite ongoing concerns from those around him, Greg's erratic behavior continued unchecked. During Greg's last year of high school, around 2003, he met Sky, who would later become his wife. Despite initially feeling like Sky found him odd, Greg persisted in talking to her during their shared classes, starting conversations with her regularly. He was drawn to her because she had a certain, dark aura that stood out to him. When the school year ended, they lost contact for a while until Greg saw Sky online on AOL and decided to reach out. She invited him over, and from that point, Greg would drive to her place to pick her up and bring her to his house. Sky seemed somewhat emotionally distant, a trait Greg noticed but still enjoyed her company. Greg graduated from high school with a 2.54 GPA, and instead of pursuing college, he dedicated his time to continuing his work on websites. During this period, Onision first videos were uploaded, involving self-made animations posted on his game review website, gamershadow.com. In 2003, he launched a website called emrod.com, which was essentially an online diary where he could post his thoughts and ideas. It was similar to his other ventures, like hybrid-ey.com, but allowed him to explore more personal expression. However, in 2004, Greg updated Mr. Odd to include videos, featuring some of his early content before YouTube existed. These early videos mostly consisted of him and Sky playing with dolls, highlighting their quirky dynamic. Despite his growing online presence, Greg's ambitions in web design didn't fully take off, leading him to reconsider his future. With limited options, Greg made the decision to join the Air Force in search of new direction and stability. His relationship with Sky, however, continued to evolve, eventually leading to marriage. In May 2005, Greg and Sky got engaged, marking a new chapter in their relationship. Greg claimed that before the marriage, he asked Sky to sign a prenuptial agreement, which led to her crying. According to Greg, the agreement was straightforward. Each person would keep what they individually owned, with gifts remaining with the recipient. He interpreted her emotional reaction as evidence that Sky was interested in his financial assets, not just him. Despite this, the two married in August 2005 in San Antonio, Texas, while Greg was still in the Air Force. During his time in the Air Force, Greg created a website called America's Air Force to document his life as an airman. He also continued to develop other online projects, where he shifted from previous aliases into Onision, a name that would define his later YouTube career. Greg's explanation of the name Onision evolved, at one point describing it as a combination of Oni, meaning one, and Shaun, meaning divine community. He described the name as embodying uniqueness, strength, and personal importance, but his content often contrasted with these ideals, being harsh and mean-spirited despite his supposed goal of creating a divine community. While in the Air Force, Jackson created his first YouTube channel on January 29, 2006, and started uploading content that same year. Greg also faced significant personal struggles. He claimed that his decision to apply for conscientious objector status stemmed from being asked to kill a rabbit, a story that has been widely disputed. Some who served with him recalled Greg as someone who frequently threw tantrums and struggled with the physical and emotional demands of military life. Allegedly, He even broke down crying during a ruck march, unable to keep pace. In 2007, Greg's military service became even more turbulent. He was stationed at Onision Air Force Base in South Korea, where he became deeply unhappy and isolated. In November 2007, he attempted suicide but later decided not to go through with it. In a 2010 YouTube video titled "I Am Fallen," Greg spoke about the incident, framing himself as someone who had died inside but now fought passionately for others. This video marked the first time he revealed the story to his audience and highlighted a pattern of self-victimization and saviorism that would become common in his narrative. After his suicide attempt, Greg took a 30-day leave and later started the process of trying to leave the military by applying for conscientious objector status. Sometime after this, Greg would allegedly get into trouble with a senior airman after refusing to clean another airman's post as ordered by a lieutenant colonel. After refusing to comply with the senior airman and a lieutenant, Greg is taken to the Chief Master Sergeant's office and is served a letter of reprimand, his first ever disciplinary action. In response, he strips naked in an attempt to prove his humanity. A security officer and the senior airman forcibly dress him and place him in a cell for a brief amount of time. Afterward, Greg would receive an Article 15, resulting in the forfeiture of a portion of his pay and his demotion by one rank from senior airman to airman first class. During this period, Greg's online presence grew as he began his "I'm So" series of music videos, which poked fun at various subcultures, including gamers and goths. His song, "I'm So Gamer," became a viral hit, garnering over 600,000 views within a week. Despite the video's success, Greg continued to experience inner conflict, criticizing the military in his video, "I'm So Death Machine," likely hoping to expedite his discharge. On October 31, 2008, Greg is discharged from the Air Force under the rank of Airman First Class to Seattle, Washington. His discharge is listed as a general discharge under honorable conditions. He and his wife, Sky, moved back to Washington to live with Greg's mother while they searched for a house. Sky becomes the primary breadwinner of the household, though Greg starts to prevent Sky from working a full-time job so that she can stay at home and work on their YouTube channels. He claims that her working a typical job means he won't get to see her as often and that he finds that to be unacceptable. By the time he left the Air Force, Greg had fully embraced the Onision persona, combining a public mission of spreading peace and unity with a private persona that often contradicted those ideals through divisive and harsh content. Throughout his early career, the contrast between his self-image as a revolutionary and the reality of his online behavior created a sense of cognitive dissonance that would define much of his future interactions with both fans and critics. At this time, Greg began to seriously pursue his YouTube career while Sky worked to support both of them financially. When Greg's channel became successful enough to support them, he asked Sky to quit her job and work for the YouTube channel with him full-time. By the end of 2008, his channel had grown to nearly 10,000 subscribers, with most of his content featuring comedic skits with a fictional character named Chibi, a parody of Fred Fiddlehorn, who dominated the YouTube platform at that time. One of Greg's first major controversies arose in April 2009 when he uploaded a video titled "Murder Eaters," in which he strongly expressed his views on vegetarianism. He told his audience to unsubscribe if they didn't agree with his viewpoint and supported comments that labeled him as self-righteous. In this video, he stated, "We're living beings, and we like being alive, right? So if we kill other beings that probably like being alive, that's not really something that we have to debate, now is it? Oh wait, yes it is because you guys are morons." He followed this with another video, "We Moo You Murder," where he dressed up as a cow to criticize meat eaters, berating his audience for not questioning their dietary choices. By August 2009, his channel had grown to 28,000 subscribers, and he created a second channel called Onision Speaks, where he uploaded commentary videos. Greg's popularity increased significantly when he began collaborating with fellow content creator Shane Dawson. At the time, viewers consistently compared Greg's content to Shane's, as both focused on problematic comedy skits. In December 2009, after Shane reached out to Greg, the two collaborated on several videos, including Dawson's Freak and one where Greg pretended to be a Shane Dawson impersonator. This collaboration helped skyrocket Onision's channel, leading to a rapid increase in subscribers. Within 2 months, He gained 100,000 subscribers and expanded his online presence, introducing merchandise to his channel. Greg's biggest breakout moment came with the viral success of his Banana Song video, featuring him in a banana suit alongside Sky. This quirky video was showcased on Comedy Central's Tosh.0 as the viewer video of the week in 2010, contributing to its immense popularity. At one stage, Tosh.0 reached number 1 in ratings for its time slot among men aged 18 to 24. The exposure from the show helped the Banana Song accumulate over 93 million views, cementing Greg's status as a well-known YouTuber. Despite his booming platform and a comfortable life, Greg wanted more. He continued to engage with fans and eventually stumbled upon a fan named Shiloh, marking her as the next significant figure in his life and career. Shiloh was born in Abbotsford, British Columbia, and from a young age, she participated in various singing competitions. By 2008, she had signed with Universal Music Canada, and her debut single, Operator, A Girl Like Me, achieved Canadian Platinum status, making her one of Billboard Canada's top emerging talents. In April 2010, at 16 years old, Shiloh discovered Greg's Banana video on Tosh.0. Intrigued by his content, Shiloh reaches out to Greg in an email asking for relationship advice. At the time, she is dating someone with schizophrenia who is verbally abusive to her. Greg, who was 25 at the time, reportedly only responded after realizing her celebrity status. Shiloh and Greg begin communicating over Skype, sometimes for 8 to 10 hours a day. This emotional connection developed over several months, which Greg's wife, Sky, initially viewed as mentorship. As their relationship deepened, Greg began contemplating leaving Sky. Tensions escalated in June 2010 when Sky made comments about their marriage and finances, prompting Greg to threaten divorce. In December 2010, Greg presented Sky with divorce papers, claiming he had found real happiness with Shiloh. This situation led to a breakdown in their marriage, with Sky later describing the emotional turmoil she experienced during this period. Legal proceedings eventually deemed the initial divorce contract null due to various issues, including Sky's mental state. On December 27, 2010, Greg traveled to Pennsylvania to meet Shiloh for the first time. Despite knowing Shiloh was a minor, he engaged in a sexual relationship with her shortly after their meeting. Their interactions raised suspicions, leading to police intervention as authorities questioned Greg's intentions. Just weeks before Shiloh turned 18, on April 12, 2011, Greg publicly introduced her to his audience as his girlfriend, marking a significant step in their relationship. April 2011, Shiloh turned 18 and spent her birthday at the Sandman Hotel near the airport so that Greg could fly her out of the country without needing her mother's consent to move to Seattle to live with Greg. This transition involved severing ties with her family and friends, isolating her from her support network. Greg's influence over her life grew, and Shiloh reported feeling pressured to cut off contact with her parents. Once in Seattle, Shiloh faced challenges in her music career, ultimately losing her management and the industry connections she had built over the years. This loss was compounded by her increasing immersion in Greg's life. Shiloh even got a tattoo of Greg's name on her body, a decision Greg claimed was her choice, though it raised concerns about his influence over her actions. Just a month later, she suffered a grand mal seizure in the shower due to stress. This incident followed a comment Greg made, calling her clinically obese, and insisting she lose weight because he claimed he couldn't pick her up during sex. On June 23, 2011, Greg uploaded a video titled, "Shiloh Forgot Me," explaining he couldn't upload a video that day due to the strange episode Shiloh had after a fight. The video showed footage of Shiloh appearing to have a seizure, lying in bed and repeating seemingly random phrases such as, "I want to make a rainbow," and "Why are you shaking your hand?" During this time, Greg chose to edit a video rather than call an ambulance while Shiloh was passed out. After she regained consciousness, they discovered that Shiloh had lost 3 years of her memory. While looking at photos of friends and family on Facebook, Greg reminded Shiloh that she was vegetarian and offered her vegan cheese. This raised significant criticism, with many questioning Greg's decision to forego medical assistance and the implications of exploiting Shiloh's illness for views. Critics were particularly concerned about how he seemed to prioritize creating content over her well-being. Shiloh expressed that, After losing her memory, she felt a mixture of fear and confusion, waking up to a strange man, Greg, and not knowing where she was or who she was. Despite this traumatic event, Shiloh and Greg continued to stay together and create content for YouTube. On June 28, 2011, Greg uploaded a video titled, "Onision and Shiloh, My Girlfriend is Beautiful," in which he filmed Shiloh sleeping on the ground beside him as he worked at his computer. In the footage, she can be seen murmuring and twitching in her sleep. Shiloh later disclosed that Greg had her sleep next to him like this so that she could be available to him for sex whenever he desired. Just days later, on June 30th, Shiloh posted a video titled, "Bald," showcasing her newly shaved head. She later revealed that Greg had forcibly shaved her head in the middle of a sexual encounter, leading her into the bathroom and shaving off her hair against her will. In her blog, she confessed that shaving her head made her deeply depressed, and she regretted the decision. She described feeling ugly and defeminized by the experience. In July 2011, Greg announces that he and Shiloh have had a major breakup. This breakup comes as a result of Shiloh threatening to kill herself while Greg was on the phone with his mother and sister. Greg soon calls the police after this event, resulting in Shiloh being taken to a mental health facility. She was eventually able to contact her mother and was discharged, moving to Canada with her mother. Greg, on the other hand, abandoned his home and moved in with a friend. Following the breakup, Greg uploaded a video titled, "We Broke Up," where he discussed the separation, which many viewers perceived as a smear campaign against Shiloh. He likely expected Shiloh to expose his abusive behavior and sought to undermine her credibility. Greg's subsequent video, "Shiloh Threatened Me," claimed that Shiloh had threatened to destroy him, stating he had to call the police on her twice. He portrayed himself as the victim and described how, both times, the police sided with him. In the video, Greg sought to frame Shiloh's emotional reactions as unstable, a tactic often used by abusers to shift blame onto the victim. In a 2011 live chat, Greg acknowledged that he uploaded these videos to demonstrate Shiloh's alleged instability, but was shocked when viewers sided with her instead. He ultimately deleted the video after receiving backlash, claiming he regretted releasing it. In late July 2011, Shiloh posted a blog titled, "Winner," sharing her perspective on the relationship and expressing her desire for people to understand her experiences. She detailed how Greg had constantly criticized her body, expressed indifference to her health issues, and exerted control over her life, including forcing her to shave her head and isolating her from her family and friends. Shiloh's experience revealed a deeply troubling dynamic, with her mental health significantly impacted by the relationship. Ultimately, while Shiloh left the relationship, traumatized by her experiences with Greg, highlighting the serious consequences of emotional manipulation and abuse. In August 2011, after his emotionally taxing relationship with Shiloh, Greg entered a brief relationship with Adrienne, a woman he met online. Adrienne, intrigued by Greg's YouTube persona, reached out to him, and their nightly Skype conversations quickly escalated. Within just a few nights, Greg professed his love to Adrienne, discussing the possibility of marriage and even suggesting she move from Texas to Los Angeles to be with him. This rapid progression raised numerous red flags, indicating a concerning pattern in Greg's approach to relationships. Shortly after they began dating, Greg uploaded a video titled, "I Found Her," Onision Speaks channel. In it, he expressed his excitement over the new relationship. The initial euphoria soon faded as their relationship spiraled into a chaotic cycle of breakups and reconciliations, lasting less than a month. Greg announced their split in a video, mockingly referring to it as the most pathetic announcement ever, treating the situation with a dismissive attitude. He laughed about the disastrous nature of the breakup, which he labeled a train wreck. Following their breakup, Greg took to social media to accuse Adrienne of dishonesty, prompting Adrienne to defend herself in a post on Google+. This post caught the attention of Shiloh, who briefly connected with Adrienne over their shared experiences with Greg. They publicly mocked Greg on Facebook for his distrust of bisexual women, causing further strain in Greg and Adrienne's relationship, as Adrienne identified as bisexual. Shiloh even wrote a blog post detailing the similarities between her relationship with Greg and Adrienne's, highlighting a troubling pattern of behavior. However, this camaraderie was short-lived, as Shiloh eventually reconciled with Greg. Adrienne suspected that Shiloh had used her to gather information about Greg, leading to a complicated dynamic where both women faced scrutiny for their involvement with him. Many people blamed Shiloh for returning to Greg, often questioning her judgment. On September 25, 2011, Shiloh uploaded a video titled STD on her Dracula channel, mimicking the background of one of Greg's recent videos, leading viewers to speculate about their reconciliation. Greg soon confirmed these suspicions in a video titled Shiloh's Back, where they announced their engagement. Around this time, Shiloh claimed to be pregnant with Greg's child. However, in a twist of events, a month prior to their engagement, Shiloh posted a photo of a premature baby on Facebook, claiming it was in memory of a child they had lost. This photo turned out to be stolen from another source, leading to controversy when Shiloh denied any knowledge of it and removed it after being confronted. Greg publicly defended Shiloh in a video, dismissing the rumors surrounding the photo's authenticity and attempting to shield her from backlash. However, shortly after their engagement, the couple announced they were expecting another child through their Facebook fan pages, both posting images of a positive pregnancy test. Greg filmed a dramatic video titled, "My Girlfriend's Pregnant," showcasing exaggerated excitement over the news despite lingering skepticism from viewers about the truth of the situation. In December 2011, Greg released a video titled, "Shiloh and Greg Not Fiction," addressing critics who doubted the authenticity of their drama. He insisted that their lives were not scripted, emphasizing his desire to share genuine experiences with his audience. Shortly thereafter, Shiloh revealed on Facebook that during a checkup, no heartbeat was found during what should have been a 12-week pregnancy, indicating a likely miscarriage. Greg confirmed this heartbreaking news in a video, expressing profound sadness over the loss. As the situation escalated, Greg announced that Shiloh had developed sepsis, requiring immediate medical attention. He filmed a video explaining that after the miscarriage, Shiloh was flown to a hospital in Canada. This decision raised eyebrows among viewers who questioned why Greg had not sought immediate medical assistance sooner instead of continuing to film videos during such a critical time. On December 17, 2011, Greg uploaded "Goodbye Shiloh," a montage of their final day together, further intensifying skepticism among viewers. Many speculated that Shiloh never actually suffered from sepsis, given the activities they engaged in during that period. Following a brief hiatus from uploading, they faced backlash over the video, leading Greg to doubt Shiloh's truthfulness regarding her health issues. In 2015, Shiloh recounted her experience, alleging that Greg had refused to take her to the hospital for the miscarriage, primarily due to concerns over medical costs. Instead, he returned her to Canada for proper care. During this time, Shiloh's mother hides her daughter's passport to prevent her from returning to the US, and even goes so far as to prevent her from getting a new one at every opportunity. Sometime after this, Shiloh would meet someone, and they would begin dating. She considers her leaving for Canada to be her and Greg's final breakup. Their relationship officially ended in February 2012, but Greg continued to air grievances through a music video titled, "It's Over," which primarily discussed what he perceived as Shiloh's lies throughout their time together. Following their split, Greg discovered that Shiloh was seeing someone new, which led him to publicly accuse her of infidelity and deception regarding various aspects of their relationship. Throughout the fallout, Greg profited off their toxic relationship, garnering views and attention for his content, while Shiloh faced immense harassment from both Greg's fans and those opposed to him. She was labeled as crazy and a pathological liar, suffering significant backlash after the public airing of their tumultuous relationship. In response to the overwhelming negativity, Shiloh deleted her social media accounts to protect her mental health, receiving thousands of messages urging her to harm herself, which added to her distress. Shiloh's music career took a severe hit. She went from earning thousands quarterly to a mere $300. The repercussions of her relationship with Greg, including the public meltdowns he filmed, severely hindered her ability to find work in the music industry. Reflecting on the impact Greg had on her life, Shiloh noted that she lost not only her dignity but also valuable relationships due to the turmoil. However, Greg chose to release a video titled "Total Victory," portraying himself as the good guy in all his past relationships. He blamed women who criticized him for their rejection, displaying a troubling obsession with maintaining the narrative that he had always been the victim. Greg's insistence on framing himself as the victor in every relationship illustrated a concerning need for dominance and control. Despite the shadows cast by her relationship with Greg, Shiloh has made significant strides in her music career and personal life, gradually reclaiming her identity and finding success on her own terms. Greg would eventually move on to even younger individuals, continuing the exact same pattern and cycle of relationships, and his next victim was named Kai. Kai initially discovered Greg when Shane Dawson uploaded a video featuring the two kissing at VidCon in 2011, which sparked Kai's fascination. At the time of this video's release on August 6, 2011, Kai was just 16 years old. Later that year, amid Greg's tumultuous relationship with his then-fiancée, Shiloh, Kai began tweeting at Greg almost daily. On September 14, 2011, Kai sent his first tweet, responding to a now-deleted video where Greg expressed his desire for someone who would put up with him. Throughout September, Kai tweeted at Greg multiple times, expressing admiration. By October 21, 2011, Kai even shared a list of celebrities he would marry, with Greg listed as number 3. Greg replied the following day, acknowledging Kai's kind words, which led to more tweets from Kai. Kai shared feelings of missing Greg despite never having met, suggesting a parasocial bond was forming. After Greg's final breakup with Shiloh, he tweeted, "Soulmate, where are you?" on February 12, 2012, to which Kai replied, "Here." Greg soon direct messaged Kai on Twitter, asking what made Kai feel he was his soulmate. This exchange led to the two privately dating that same month, with Kai being 17 and Greg 26. Their relationship progressed rapidly, with Greg professing his love for Kai over text and even proposing before they met in person, using a video to do so. In March 2012, Greg flew to New Mexico to meet Kai. They met at a coffee shop, had lunch, and visited a park where they shared their first kiss. Greg reportedly gave Kai a ring during this first meeting, indicating his intention to marry him. The relationship moved quickly, with Greg admitting that they had intimate contact shortly after meeting. As their relationship continued to flourish, Greg and Kai began wearing rings to symbolize their engagement. Their social media activity attracted attention, as viewers compared Greg's filming locations to Kai's Instagram photos, leading to the revelation that Greg had been renting a home in New Mexico to be close to Kai while he finished high school. On October 22, 2012, just 6 days after Kai turned 18, they officially announced their relationship through an Instagram post. The couple even shared matching tattoos that commemorated the date they began dating, February 27, 2012. They quickly married through the New Mexico court system on November 14, 2012, keeping the news private until an ex-friend of Kai leaked it online shortly after. Over the next few years, tensions arose between Greg and Kai's family. Greg attempted to isolate Kai from his family, which mirrored his behavior in previous relationships. In April 2015, Greg indirectly criticized Kai for associating with his father, whom Greg felt threatened him due to their age difference and Greg's status as a fully grown adult dating a high schooler. Despite family tensions, Kai and Greg continued their relationship and eventually started a family together. In June 2013, Kai announced his pregnancy through a photo of his baby bump on Tumblr but later deleted it, expressing frustration with the backlash they received. Throughout their parenthood, Greg and Kai kept details about their children off the internet, only occasionally sharing snippets through YouTube videos and songs. Their second child was born in 2016, but the pregnancy remained largely hidden until Kai eventually shared photos in a YouTube video. As time went on, the couple faced typical relationship struggles, with Kai occasionally airing grievances on social media, while Greg would publicly express feelings of inadequacy or self-blame for their issues. Eventually, they explored non-monogamy, with Kai dating other women. Their attempt to navigate this new dynamic brought back elements of Greg's earlier manipulative behaviors, showing that Kai, now an adult, was still caught in toxic cycles. The exploration of non-monogamy began with Kai dating a woman named Billy. Kai first noticed Billy on Twitter when one of her photos was retweeted onto his timeline. Intrigued by her appearance, Kai tweeted at her, playfully asking her to date him. Later, he followed up with a direct message, asking if she was interested in girls and providing his phone number. At the time, Billy was 18 years old, Kai was 21, and Greg, Onision, was 30. In later discussions, Kai revealed that while he initiated contact, it was Greg who had strongly encouraged him to pursue Billy. Kai claimed it was actually Greg's idea for them to begin a romantic relationship with Billy. In December 2015, Billy traveled to meet Kai and Greg in person. According to Greg, this visit was intended for Billy and Kai to get to know one another, as they were planning to date. Despite Kai's growing feelings for Billy, Greg played an unusually large role in this budding relationship, openly supporting and documenting their interactions on social media. He posted numerous updates, including an image of Kai and Billy kissing. However, tensions began to surface quickly. Kai became increasingly uncomfortable with how much time Billy and Greg were spending together, overshadowing her interactions with Kai. Initially, Kai had been excited for Billy's visit, but Greg admitted in later videos that Kai felt uneasy when Billy seemed to show more interest in Greg. Greg described a particular incident where he, Billy, and Kai were about to engage in a sexual encounter. Kai, however, stopped it from happening, setting a boundary. Things escalated when Greg sent Kai a text asking for permission to cuddle Billy, claiming he felt an intense need for affection. Greg tried to justify this request by arguing that he was aroused and needed physical contact. He presented the situation as if it were natural, even offering Kai an alternative by saying that Kai could cuddle him instead. Understandably, Kai was upset by this, as it crossed a boundary that had already been established. Frustrated, Kai decided to leave the house. After Kai's departure, Greg continued to disregard Kai's boundaries, giving Billy a massage and cuddling with her while they watched movies together. They eventually fell asleep together in Kai's bed. The next day, Greg informed Kai about what had happened, leading to an immediate breakup. Feeling betrayed, Kai posted on Twitter, accusing Greg of leaving him for Billy and being in love with her. Billy, however, presented a different perspective when she opened a YouNow stream shortly after the breakup. When asked by viewers why Kai was so upset, Billy claimed she didn't fully understand. She suggested that both Kai and Greg had initially been comfortable with the arrangement until something changed. In her view, everything was fine until, suddenly, it wasn't. The unfolding events painted a troubling picture of Greg's manipulation. Many began to speculate that Greg had encouraged the relationship between Kai and Billy not out of concern for Kai's happiness, but as a means of luring Billy into a relationship with him. Some suggested that Greg used Kai as a tool to manipulate young women, a pattern that mirrored how Greg had first manipulated Kai when Kai was only 17. In the months that followed, the situation became more convoluted. By May 2016, Kai began expressing on Twitter that he missed Billy. He posted vague tweets about longing for someone he couldn't get over, and as time passed, his feelings for Billy seemed to intensify. In June, after months of trying to move on, Kai texted Billy in the middle of the night, seeking closure. He admitted that he couldn't stop thinking about her and wanted to resolve his lingering feelings. However, this attempt at closure quickly spiraled into renewed communication, and before long, Kai and Billy rekindled their relationship. Greg, who had also maintained contact with Billy, supported this reunion and became more involved in the relationship again. By September 2016, Greg began referring to their relationship as a ménage à trois, openly acknowledging the three-person dynamic. Despite this, the relationship remained fraught with tension. Kai's emotional insecurity continued to create conflict. Greg and Billy's relationship also deepened, leaving Kai feeling increasingly isolated. Whenever disagreements arose between Greg and Kai, Greg and Billy would continue their relationship without acknowledging Kai's feelings, and Greg and Kai would frequently send Billy home after arguments, only to invite her back into their lives soon afterward. This toxic pattern repeated itself over and over again, with each cycle further damaging the relationships involved. In November 2016, viewers started noticing some tension between Greg, Kai, and Billy when Greg and Kai unfollowed Billy on Twitter. By November 9th, Greg posted a video titled, "We Broke Up Again," revealing that they had decided to bring Billy back into the relationship, despite being advised by others that it was a bad idea. Greg explained that his decision was influenced by how much he enjoyed spending time with her, playing video games, and more. At this point, Greg claimed to be emotionally exhausted and told Kai that he no longer wanted any rules or boundaries in their polyamorous relationship. He believed that while Kai and Billy had freedom in the relationship, he was restricted and wanted to change that dynamic, aiming for a more open setup. However, Greg's interpretation of doing whatever he wants clashed with Billy's understanding, as she thought this freedom only applied when they were together as a trio. Soon after, Greg coerced Billy into sleeping with him, despite her reservations. Billy had expressed multiple times that she was uncomfortable with the situation, but Greg persisted until she eventually gave in. Afterward, Billy was emotionally distraught, crying to Kai, and revealed that she had tried to resist Greg's pressure. The situation in the house escalated, leading to several arguments, with Greg eventually having everyone sign a contract agreeing to stay for another week in an attempt to work things out. This contract included terms about maintaining peace and being nice to each other. However, the tension only grew. Greg continued to push Billy, trying to control her by demanding that she shave her head, get a tattoo, declare herself a liar, change her hair color, and even stop seeing her family for over a year. Greg later claimed that Billy had broken the contract they had, which resulted in him breaking up with her. This contract, among other things, included stipulations about not partaking in illegal drug use, something that Billy supposedly violated. After the breakup, Greg took to Twitter to publicly shame Billy, sharing private text messages between them and accusing her of betraying their trust. Greg posted another breakup video, claiming that Billy had lied to them again. This time, Greg used the excuse of her drug use as the reason for the split, stating that their anti-drug stance clashed with Billy's lifestyle. In a final exchange, Greg posted private information about Billy, further humiliating her by exposing sensitive details she had shared with him in confidence. Despite everything, Greg continued to contact Billy, even years later, attempting to manipulate her further. Billy eventually took to social media, pleading for Greg to stop harassing her and her friends. She highlighted the abusive nature of their relationship, detailing how Greg had attempted to humiliate and control her by suggesting she get tattoos, shave her head, and even chain her in his basement. Ultimately, this relationship left Billy emotionally drained and deeply affected by the power imbalances and manipulation she experienced at the hands of Greg and Kai. In 2019, investigative journalist Chris Hansen, known for To Catch a Predator, began covering allegations against YouTuber Onision and his spouse, Kai. At the time, several young women accused Greg of grooming and exploitation while underage, with 6 others alleging abuse. Although Greg consistently denied all accusations, the case gained traction on Hansen's YouTube series, Have a Seat with Chris Hansen, where he interviewed victims and others involved in Onision's life. On January 4, 2021, the documentary Onision, in Real Life premiered on Discovery+. The series included interviews with Onision's estranged father, Randy, who spoke about Greg's violent history, and YouTuber Eugenia Cooney, who shared details about a harassment campaign launched by Onision against her. Shiloh, a former partner, also shared her experience, explaining the intense isolation she felt while in a relationship with him. Shiloh explained that learning about other survivors finally helped her feel less isolated after enduring years of pain. At the height of the controversy, Chris Hansen made an in-person attempt to confront Onision at his home. Onision responded by contacting local law enforcement, accusing Hansen of stalking and harassing him. In the recorded 911 call, Onision claimed Hansen was an online stalker, causing him distress. Following this incident, Greg and Kai filed for protection orders against Hansen and a YouTuber named Rep Cyan, who had created numerous videos discussing Greg's alleged abusive behavior. The protection orders, however, were dismissed after they were served to the wrong Chris Hansen due to an error where a different man with the same name received the papers. This procedural misstep and the ensuing courtroom appearance led to widespread ridicule, especially due to Onision's uncharacteristic attire and demeanor during the hearing. Following Hansen's interview series, which significantly amplified the survivors' stories, a movement on social media emerged under the hashtag #deplatformpredators, which called for Onision to be banned from all major platforms. Law enforcement, including the FBI, took notice, and according to Newsweek, police documents revealed that the FBI began reviewing Onision's content to assess the allegations of abuse. While criminal charges against Greg were not filed initially, 2 civil lawsuits emerged in early 2023. In February, Regina Alonso filed a lawsuit accusing Onision and Kai of using their social media presence to groom and exploit minors, naming YouTube and its parent company, Google, as co-defendants for allowing his content to remain monetized. The following month, another victim, Sarah, filed a lawsuit with similar allegations. She described the lasting psychological trauma of her interactions with Greg and Kai and the emotional toll of constantly reliving her story. As these cases proceeded, Onision faced further consequences online. In December 2019, he was banned from Patreon after sharing screenshots of private texts between himself and Billy, which included her phone number. Patreon cited doxing as the reason for his removal, affirming that it violated their rules on harassment and privacy. As the pressure mounted, Onision's online persona grew increasingly erratic. He released breakdown videos, at times mocking critics. Onision later claimed these videos were not real and should not be taken seriously, prompting speculation that he might be attempting to build an insanity defense in the event of a criminal trial. After the termination of his Patreon and YouTube income, Greg filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which allows for debt repayment over time. The financial troubles marked a notable fall from the days when Greg, once a prominent figure in online entertainment, profited significantly from his content. After his departure from mainstream platforms, Greg published a final goodbye video. In it, he blamed his downfall on malicious online campaigns orchestrated by former friends and supporters. He described himself as a victim of a widespread smear campaign, asserting that his career was destroyed by lies. Although Greg maintained his innocence, his attempts to cast blame on others and paint himself as the real victim were widely criticized as deflecting from his well-documented behavior patterns over the years. In his final statement, he asserted that he was just a guy trying to entertain people, downplaying years of accusations and the significant harm many alleged to have experienced. Even after all of this, Onision has still managed to make a return to YouTube and other platforms like TikTok, posting AI remixes and covers of his old music. Onision remains as YouTube's most evil creator in the platform's history, with most, if not all, of his past partners being worse off after meeting him and being a joke to everyone in the community.